closed in Munyonyo. There are continuing concerns about Uganda's commitment to supporting the agriculture sector. Now, this after it emerged that according to the budget framework paper, the government plans to spend 1.689 trillion shillings for the next financial year, a 6.8% drop from the 1.813 trillion in the current fiscal year. So with the government saying it will commit to 10% of the GDP in the CAADP summit, can the sector grow into a meaningful beneficiary for the locals? Well, to help us answer this, we do have PASCHAL Muhangi of the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. Good afternoon to you, PASCHAL, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Well, let us start off with the inconsistencies in the funding for agriculture in the country. According to the budget framework paper, the government plans to spend 1.689 trillion shillings, which is a 6.8% drop from the 1.8 trillion shilling in the current fiscal year. But yesterday again, the government recommitted to have 10% allocated to the agriculture sector. How is this going to work?
Thank you very much. The 10% commitment, the inconsistency, we have been seeing it throughout the financial years. I think for the last 2 financial years, the agriculture sector financing has been inconsistent. Last year we had, the budget was actually very low. Towards the end of the financial year, we had a supplementary budget that was put in. That's why we came back to 1.8. Now we are seeing another drop of 6% that is bringing us back to 1.8. But also when you compare it with the 10% commitment, because the budget is estimated to be about 57 trillion. If you just take the 10%, that would be 5.7 trillion around. So
which is still not enough. Are you saying it is not enough?
It is not enough, but we are performing way below that because we are at 1.6 trillion. The 10% of the budget is 5.7 because the total budget is going to be 57 trillion. So we are not, in this year we are going for, we are not performing as per the 10% commitment, but we are also below what is required because agriculture is one of the ATMs. We have the 10-forward growth strategy that has ATMs, and agriculture is part of them. And also, the budget scheme has agro-industrialization as part of the key strategies that we can use to achieve that 10 growth strategy. But you have it in the ATMs, but when it comes to financing, there is a misalignment between what you have in the 10-forward growth strategy and actual financing.
And how do you think the decline in funding is going to affect the agricultural growth of the country?
You look at where the money has been going. Money is being invested into funding UNBS. One of the key problems that we currently face in agriculture is the issue of quality, both on the output but also in the input. We have very poor inputs that are not performing as per the expectation. Then the output, the actual product is also very poor. You saw Kenya, South Sudan banning our products. And when you look at where the problem is, the financing for UNBS that is supposed to be regulating the quality of these products has been declining. I think we are financing them at 60 trillion, but what is actually goes into maintaining the standard is less than 5% of that budget. So we are likely to face more problems in terms of having poor inputs. These chemicals we spray our crops, the chemicals we use for cattle, we have seen them, they are not working. If those problems keep continuing, then the actual output is going to decline. The issues of coffee. Coffee is one of our biggest export, and it is in agriculture. If we don't finance well the agriculture sector, then we are going to see a decline in the output, which could actually affect the achievement of the goals that we have set as a country, including the 10-forward growth strategy.
Yeah, and if I'm to pick just from what you're saying, it seems the government is not aligning its priorities very well. And so, as a CS-BAG, how would you advise then the government to proceed with its very many commitments?
What can be done, especially for agriculture? We can reinvest. There has been another commitment to invest 15% of what we get from agriculture. There is a share of GDP that comes from agriculture. So if we can keep reinvesting that 15%, sometimes you get money from agriculture and invest it in other sectors. So if we can keep reinvesting at least 15% of what we get from agriculture, it can be a strategy. But also, there's need to practice modern agronomics, agriculture methods we use to improve output. But for me, what I also think is key, they are enabler sectors. Agriculture is not a standalone. It works with infrastructure. If you have farms in the village and you produce onions, but you don't have access roads to the market, then that becomes an issue. So as we plan to invest in agriculture, we must look at the enabler sectors like access roads under UCA. We saw that falls under Uganda Road Fund. The money that goes to local government for maintaining those roads, those are key roads that enable farmers transport their commodities from the garden to the market. So we need to reinvest what we get from agriculture, but also look at these enabler sectors that ensure that agriculture is productive. The issue of markets, access to markets. I was in Ruel, and during the peak season for pineapples, a pineapple is as low as 200 shillings. During the other seasons, it is 2,500. That shows you there is an issue on the market. When you have a lot of output, you don't have where to sell. So if we can address the issues of market access, the issues of enabler sectors, we can really achieve a lot in agriculture and in its contribution to the ATMs and the growth strategy. Okay, and so finally, how then can we grow our investment in agriculture? Because clearly it is, like you say, it is the country's ATM, yes? And also, how do we reach the goals propagated by the Kampala Declaration? It must come from strong political commitment, because the budget depends a lot on the political commitments. If the people at cabinet level don't change the priorities, then it is going to have an issue on the financing. So we need to shift our commitments that we have. The political side must now commit and say agriculture is an ATM, is very important for the economy, and we adhere to these commitments that we have set. If we can just reach the 10% alone, the 5.7 trillion as per the next year's budget, I think that could be a substantial investment that we can pick from and grow the economy, because agriculture has a very high multiplier impact of about two, that if you invest 1 billion in agriculture, you're likely to get 2 billion. Okay. So just imagine you're investing 5.7 every year over the next 15 years, what we can really achieve from agriculture. So I think the political side must now commit and say, these are our commitments, and adhere to them. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, PASCHAL MUHANGI from the Civil Society Budget Advocacy, getting to share with us what it will take to grow the economy through the lens of agriculture. And with that, we'll take a look at